You've seen them. The person at the coffee shop, in plain clothes, driving a basic car, who tips generously, without even glancing at the bill. And then you've seen the other one, the flashy outfit, the designer bag, the Instagram post about making moves. Here's the uncomfortable truth. In almost every case, the first person has more money, significantly more. And the second person? They're probably on a payment plan. For that bag, this video is about the invisible code that separates people who are quietly building wealth from people who are loudly performing it. By the end, you'll understand exactly why truly rich people look ordinary, why broke people look expensive, and what you can start doing today to think like the quietly wealthy. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you, most people never figure out. Ever. Let's start with a question. Why do broke people buy luxury items? This isn't a judgment. It's a psychological phenomenon that's been studied extensively, and understanding it will change how you see money forever. When someone doesn't feel financially secure, when they don't feel respected or seen, the brain searches for a shortcut, and that shortcut is status signaling. A designer item says, I made it. I belong. I am someone worth respecting. The problem is, it's borrowed status. It's rented confidence. You paid $100 for a bag to communicate a financial position you don't actually hold. And in doing so, you move further away from the actual position you were trying to project. Think about that for a second. The very behavior meant to signal wealth is the behavior that prevents wealth from forming. Now contrast that with someone who is genuinely wealthy. Studies consistently show that the majority of millionaires drive average cars, live in average neighborhoods, and wear clothing that gives away nothing about their net worth. Why? Because they have nothing to prove. When your bank account speaks, your outfit doesn't need to. This is the first key to the quiet wealth code. Truly wealthy people have moved beyond the need for external validation of their financial status. They don't need strangers to believe they're rich. They know what their accounts say. Now I'm going to give you the actual behavioral patterns. These aren't motivational. These are observable, documented, reproducible. Habit 1. They optimize for ownership, not appearance. The wealthy think in assets. What do I own? What is working for me? While I sleep, the broke mindset thinks in appearances. What will people think of this? How does this look? One is building a foundation. The other is painting walls on sand. When someone with a quiet wealth mindset gets a raise, they ask, where does this go to work? When someone in the performance cycle gets a raise, they ask, what can I buy now? This single difference, played out over 10 years, creates a gap that cannot be closed. Habit 2. They are deeply uncomfortable with consumer debt. This surprises people. Because if you're wealthy, shouldn't you be comfortable borrowing? Banks lend to the rich all the time. True, but there's a critical distinction. Wealthy people borrow to acquire things that generate returns. Real estate, businesses, assets. They are allergic, viscerally uncomfortable with borrowing money to consume something. A vacation on a credit card physically bothers them, not because they're cheap, because they understand that consumer debt is the single most efficient tool for destroying future wealth. Every $1,000 financed at 22% interest for a couch, a phone, a trip is money that will never compound. It's future wealth that got spent before it was earned. Habit 3. They think in decades, not months. This is perhaps the most powerful separator. When the average person looks at their finances, they think about this month, next month, Maybe this year. When a quietly wealthy person makes a financial decision, they are running a mental simulation 10, 20, 30 years forward. They ask, what does this decision look like? In 20 years? Buying a $50,000 car on finance at 30 means arriving at 50 with significantly less retirement wealth. Not because of the car, because of the compound growth of $50,000. That never happened. The wealthy live in the future. They visit the present. Habit 4. They don't discuss money loudly. There's a saying that's worth remembering. Empty vessels make the most noise. The person telling everyone about their investment, their side hustle, their portfolio, is usually the one who needs validation because the results aren't speaking yet. Quietly wealthy people protect their financial strategy the same way a chess player protects their opening. They don't announce their next move. This isn't secrecy for secrecy's sake. It's a recognition that money talks often invite comparisons, unsolicited advice, and subtle social pressure to spend. The quieter your financial life is externally, the louder it tends to be internally. Habit 5. They have a deeply uncomfortable relationship with lifestyle inflation. Here's where it gets psychologically challenging. Lifestyle inflation is the invisible thief of wealth. Every time income increases, expenses expand to fill the new space. New income equals new car, new apartment, new habits, new subscriptions. And at the end, the percentage being saved, invested, deployed toward freedom is identical to before the raise. Quietly wealthy people resist this compulsion actively. They often maintain the same lifestyle for years, sometimes decades, while their income climbs. This creates what researchers call a wealth gap, the distance between income and lifestyle. The bigger that gap, the faster wealth accumulates. They don't live like they're poor. They live like they're already free. Habit 6. They invest before they feel ready. The most common reason people delay investing is, I'll start when I have more, when the bonus comes, when the debt is cleared, when the kids are older. And the quietly wealthy understood something early. That feeling of readiness never arrives on its own. You manufacture it by starting. The first $1,000 invested feels terrifying because it's real money, because markets move, because what if I'm wrong? But the quietly wealthy made the uncomfortable move anyway. And what they discovered was not that investing got easier. It got more natural. It became a habit so deep it ran on autopilot. And the money in that account began to represent something new. Not just numbers, but freedom at a future date. And that feeling, that glimpse of what financial independence actually feels like, became more motivating than any purchase could ever be. Habit 7. They are profoundly selective about who they discuss money with. Your financial environment is invisible but powerful. If everyone around you normalizes spending, you will normalize spending. If your closest friends are in debt and comfortable with it, the friction of debt will decrease for you too. Quietly wealthy people carefully, sometimes ruthlessly, protect their financial mindset. They seek out people who make them feel that discipline is normal, that delayed gratification is intelligent, that driving a used car is a strategic choice, not an embarrassment. You don't have to abandon your social circle, but you do need to be careful whose financial voice lives in your head, rent-free. Let's go deeper, because understanding why people fall into the performance trap isn't about judging them. It's about understanding a force that is actively working against you. There's a term called conspicuous consumption. It was coined by an economist named Thorstein Veblen over 100 years ago. and it describes the act of purchasing expensive goods, not for utility, but to display social status. What Veblen noticed was that this behavior was not random. It was most intense in people who felt economically insecure or who had recently changed social class. New money almost always makes more noise than old money because old money has had generations to internalize wealth. It's not something you have. It's something you are. New money has something to prove. Now here's the painful part. Social media has created an entire economy built on performing wealth. Entire platforms reward the performance of success over the substance of it. You get followers for looking rich, not for being rich. You get validation for the car and the photo, not for the balance sheet behind the camera. And billions of people every day are optimizing their financial behavior for an audience rather than for their actual future. This is a trap so perfectly designed. It doesn't even feel like a trap. It feels like ambition. Let me show you something concrete. 2 people, same income, $60,000 per year. Person A, the performer, new car on finance, apartment at the top of their budget, eating out 4 times a week, wardrobe updated seasonally, investing nothing. Person B, the quiet builder, used car paid in cash, apartment at half of what they could afford, cooking most meals, clothing budget minimal, investing 20% of income monthly. After 10 years, assuming a conservative 7% annual return, Person B has accumulated roughly $166,000 in invested assets. Person A has approximately zero, minus debt. After 20 years, Person B's portfolio has crossed $520,000. After 30 years at retirement, Person B has over $1.2 million in invested assets. Person A still looks better in photos. This isn't about being extreme. You can enjoy your life. You can buy things you love. You can travel. The message is that the gap between what you earn and what you spend invested consistently over time creates a future version of yourself that is fundamentally free. That freedom, that is what the quietly wealthy are actually wearing. You just can't see it from the outside. So where do you start? Not with a drastic overhaul. Not with deprivation. With one shift in identity. Before the habits. Before the spreadsheets. Before the investment account. The shift is this. Stop building your financial life for an audience. Start building it for your future self. That's it. Every financial decision runs through one filter. Does this serve my future self? Or does it serve my current image? Some decisions will serve both. A home you own and love. A holiday that genuinely fills you. Clothing you find beautiful and keep for years. But when those things are purchased on credit to impress people who aren't paying your bills, the math turns against you. After that identity shift, 3 practical moves. First, know your gap. Calculate what you earn versus what you spend. Write it down. The number you feel uncomfortable looking at is the number that matters. Second, automate investment before you can spend it. On payday, before your hand touches the money, a percentage moves to an investment account. Remove the decision entirely. Third, find one area to reverse lifestyle inflation. Not everything. 1. Cook 1 more meal per week. Cancel 1 subscription. Keep the car 1 more year. These micro reductions compound into macro freedom. The quietly wealthy didn't become quiet about money by accident. They made a decision, probably quietly, to stop performing wealth and start building it. And one day, They reached a place where the account spoke so loudly that they never needed to say a word. That's the quiet wealth code. 7 habits, 1 identity shift, 30 years of patience. If this video made you think differently about money and how it's actually built, hit subscribe. Because every week on this channel, we break down exactly how money works for the people who are serious about building it. The next video is going to show you something that will genuinely surprise you about how the wealthy structure their spending. You won't want to miss it. See you there.